Today, we're going to talk about making sense of the senseless. Making sense of the senseless. What does that mean? What does that mean? Right? So, it means that the egoic mind, or the separated self, there's a million things about it, right? If you know any Eastern philosophy, what we would probably consider, it's the same, but it's not exactly, but for our purposes, it's basically the same. Ego is illusion. So ego is Maya. Maya is illusion. And the egoic mind is an illusion. We have fallen asleep and we believe that the separated mind, the separated self, is something that is real. And so it is self-reflectory. So it's constantly looking at itself and it's always saying, I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. And then there's out there that's not real. And so we have to navigate this world, which is also an illusion. And so Maya, or illusion, or ego, it's all the same thing, is senseless. It's senseless because it will tell you it's very, very, very dualistic, right? So dualism is the separation, is the insanity of the ego. So it's dualistic. So, it's really, this is topical, right? If you saw the Barbie movie, I love the Barbie movie, as I do that. But here's the deal. If you know the Barbie movie, America Ferrera has this speech that has been reprinted many times since. So I'll just give you this is what is senseless, right? So she's talking about women's roles in society, right? So this is just one example. This is why it's insane. It's senseless. So you have to be, as a woman, this is kind of her character talking. Everyone can relate to this, I think. You have to be pretty, but don't be too pretty, because if you're too pretty, then you're a slut. Or if you're too pretty, then another woman's husband is going to want to with you, right? So it's not sensible at all. Be smart, but don't be smarter than your husband, right? This is what has been going on forever. This is just one example of the senselessness of Maya, or the illusion, right? So what the separated self does, it is born into this illusion, and then it starts to try to make sense of the insane, right? It starts to, and one of the main ways is it starts to try to compete with everything. Compete with people, with itself, and then it competes with others, and it competes with the world, and then it needs to get better at this, not be so good at that, do all of those machinations of controlling its own destiny, and it's all an illusion. Because, as I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you win the rat race, because you're still a rat. Right? That's what Maya is. That's what the illusion is. So, one of the biggest illusions is that you need to know something. You need to get something. You need to learn something. There's nothing wrong with knowing. There's nothing wrong with getting. And there's nothing wrong with knowledge at all. But the egoic mind, the Maya, is going to constantly tell you that you need more spiritual knowledge. The guru will say that. The priest will say that. You need more spiritual knowledge. You need to go back to the meditation cushion. That's the word, cushion. You have to pray more. You have to read your Bible more. You have to, whatever happens to be, right? And all of this spiritual knowledge is never really going to get you anywhere. I hate to break it to you. That's not going to get you anywhere. What it's going to get, what it gets is that It concretizes the illusion. I think before I speak, so I don't want to say something wrong. It concretizes the illusion, right? So, and remember, the truth of all real spiritual work is that it's always a paradox. There's always a paradox somehow, right? So, if you want to really go high, you have to go low, whatever. If you really want to know, you have to let go of knowing. If you want to move forward, it doesn't mean you have to move faster. It means you need to slow down. Do you understand? So the illusion's always going to tell you, you want to move forward, go fast, right? If you want to go deep, go inside. But actually, it's like opening up more will bring you in deeper on some level. So I've got a couple of notes here I'm kind of looking at that I want to kind of just say to you. So what we do, and in a way, I will completely come clean on this, what I do on some level, and it's very much changed in the last few years of how I share and how I teach and all that stuff. You're gonna get a chance to speak in a second, is that you want to try to make sense of the dream. You want to make sense of the illusion. How does it really work? And there are definitely some laws or rules in the illusion. But no, let me just stop there. There are some, right? So we're trying to make sense of the dream state. But what you're really doing is you're trying to make sense of the senseless, because doesn't make any sense really. Doesn't make any sense in truth. It makes sense in the illusion, right? Look at my notes here. So when you try to make sense of the senseless, you're doing what so many billions of people have done before. There's nothing wrong with it. But you're just trying to say, okay, well, what's the meaning of life? I'm going to find it. It's the quest thing. It's the searching thing. It's all of that. And then you get to the end of the search, or the end of the search, and then you realize, exactly like Dorothy, and I use Dorothy all the time in The Wizard of Oz, that you realize you've gone through this whole thing, and where was what she was looking for the whole time? Where? Right with her, on her feet. The whole adventure of getting home, of trying to get home, and da-da-da-da-da-da. But at the end, she finally comes back and goes, oh, it's right here. So that's trying to make sense of the senseless. It's already here. There's nowhere to go. There's no one to be. There's nothing to do. I told you I work with A Course in Miracles all the time. And one of the biggest lessons of A Course in Miracles is I need do nothing. I need do nothing. Ego's like, what the fuck? Because the part of you that wants to do something is the part that's trying to control something. And the part that's trying to control something is never going to get control. So why are you following that? Why are you following that? Because you've been conditioned. And the egoic mind has been conditioned to keep doing all the time. Being always comes first. Doing can come second. But you don't need to do anything. But the illusion will tell you, you better get them to like you. You better build a business. You have to do this to get that. And it's all dualistic. It's all goal oriented. It's all about, if I do this, I'll get that. If I don't do this, I'll get this. If I do, whatever happens to be. So it's this never ending hamster wheel of trying to make sense of because when you finally get the thing, if you lose the weight, if you get the job, if you get the guy, you and I know, it's never what you thought. Doesn't matter. It could be better than what you thought. Or it could be worse. Right? Then many times you're like, why did I even want that? Why did I want that? Oh, yeah. My ridiculous ego was telling me if I got that, then I would be happy. If I got that, then I would be peaceful. If I got that, then I would finally love myself. All conditional living. Right? It's all conditional. So there's always a bargain in place, right? So you got to give up something to get something. It's so senseless. Because the ego believes in one of its biggest things. Illusion believes that everything is based on scarcity or lack. So if you give away something, you lost something. If someone gives something, they lose it. They lose it. They lost it. Right? That's not how it really works. That's completely the opposite of how it works in truth. In truth, this is, of course, the miracles thing again, to give and receive are one in the truth. Because nothing can ever be lost. Nothing can ever be lost. In the illusion, you can lose stuff, and you're trying to be like, oh, I got to hold on to my stuff, hold on to my stuff, hold on to my stuff. Why do you think that so many people have such huge, it could be huge or it could be very minor, but it could be big either way, ahas or spiritual awakenings even, when they get rid of stuff. You realize, you know this, when you finally get rid of that thing that you've had for so long, you're like, why did I keep that for 20 years? What the hell? A sense of freedom comes over you, right? A sense of freedom comes, and you're like, and the only thing keeping me to keep the thing is a story in my head about the thing. Let go of the thing, and then you don't have to have the story, and then you're not bound, right? So we're trying to make sense of the senseless all the time. The illusion is always going to be the illusion, right? So you're just leading yourself up. Let me see if there's anything. This whole journey is beyond the illusion. Trying to make sense of the illusion is like staying in the problem. It's like staying in the problem. It's like and then we'll open up to see what you have to say. And just type it in here if things are coming up for you. I see a couple. It's like, I'm not gonna say that. So, okay. Take a deep breath. That was a lot of stuff going on there. It just poured out of me. So let me see what you have to say. Put in anything. There's no right or wrong. This is a conversation. So, yeah, let's see. Mari says, usually worse than you expected it to be. How about expectations? Oh, we talked about expectations the other day, too. What's this bringing up for you about making sense of the senseless and constantly being on that hamster wheel? You can write anything that you want to. There's no right or wrong here. This is a conversation, even though I just talked for a long time. Tiffany says, I worked very hard to get nowhere. That's right. Very, very insightful, my friend. And it says, on a day-to-day basis, to do nothing, you have to have something. So this is happening over and over all day. I've yet to try that. It's a very, very, very difficult concept because for the ego. It's not that you don't do anything. It's the real realization that almost everything that you're doing is from the egoic mind. So this is happening, right? I say that a lot if you're new. I just say, so this is happening. So writing the book is happening. So putting on makeup is happening. So taking a shower is happening. I said this, I'm putting up a new video of what we talked about the other day on Saturday. It's a good video. It's pretty long, but that's okay. Is that it really is all about this idea of letting go of the story. If there's no story, because most of the things that you're doing are based on the story of trying to control your life. You don't have a life because there's no real you there. You think there's a you there. There's no you there. People new are like, what the fuck is he talking about? But there is no you. You're just a construct. So it's not like nothing happens. You go, oh, I'm having fish and chips. Or fish and chips is happening. I don't know why I said that. I must want fish and chips. Showering is happening. Being on camera is happening. Right? A whole different orientation to how you do action. How action happens, seems to happen in your life. Mari says, friendships let you down when you think they have the same values and loyalties like you have. Of course. Expectations, again. I've said this and I'll say it again. The Buddha says, all suffering comes from expectations. Now, your ego's going to hear that and go, oh, don't have any expectations. That's a bad thing. No, because you're immediately into duality that expectations are bad. No, they're not. They're just expectations. One of the things that happens with the egoic mind is that expectations many times lead to suffering. That's all. So that's happening. Char, letting go of timing and specifics of manifestation is challenging. Oh, yeah. You have to even get, well, I would say, I've done law of attraction for many, many years. I am like the freaking expert. I can teach people how to do it. It's not hard at all. It's pretty freaking easy. So, but what we're talking about is even further back from there. You ask yourself, well, then why am I even trying to manifest the thing? Then you start to go, oh, shit. Because I think that thing is going to make me happy. Not always, but just look at that. But you're right. When the hardest, when I do my intensive law of attraction work and all that stuff, my business used to be called Attract Positive Results. The allowing piece is the hardest for everyone because they're coming from their separated self. They think they can control the end. You can't control it, but you can let go into something different. Hi, Robert. Robert says the bad egg in the nest is what's the point? Which takes away my energy and apathy, miles in rent free. Oh, moves in. You're right, Robert. You are completely right. One of the things that is results of what I'm guiding you towards is, and especially when it starts to really sink in what we're doing here, you will get apathetic. Apathy will happen. It usually does. If it doesn't happen, it means you're really not getting it. But nothing stays forever because everything is constantly growing and shifting and changing and whatever. So nothing stays forever. So I know that when I've been doing this for a very long time, when I've had a little series of awakenings for many years, but it was about 3 years ago, where I was like, oh shit, this is now, I went through quite a bit of just like, okay. Apathetic. Because it's like, well, if I don't want to control anything, well, then what do I do? Because that's what happens. Because then you realize how much your ego is trying to control the Maya, trying to control the illusion that can't be controlled. It can't be to control. And once you really get that, you're like, oh shit. Then you're like, oh, I understand what I need to do nothing really means. But my life didn't stop. I kept working. I kept seeing my friends and my family and everything, but there was a definite like, it's the disconnection from the character of the self. This is pretty big. So Robert, all I'm saying is, I gotcha. I would say what one of my favorite teachers, Judd McKenna, would say was just like, don't stop there. Don't stop there. Go further. But go further doesn't mean controlling it. But don't stop. Just keep, yeah. I won't say anything because it's going to be. Tiffany says, I was truly surprised by the apathy for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're the kind of person that's like a very controlling person. If you're like, oh, I have to make sure that that's going good and these people are doing this and that I'm seen like this. And if you're a very type A kind of controlling person, it really is like, oh shit, this is really completely alien. If you're not quite like that, you can be like, oh, okay. I guess this is happening.